Welcome to Friday's first video. Firstly, a journalist arrested around 15 days ago has been released. Journalist working for an international news outlet has been released in Ethiopia. Secondly, Russia has given a relief to Ethiopia. We know that Ethiopian government is in talks with the EU and US for rescheduling of its loans. Meanwhile, Russia has converted Ethiopian loan into grant. How much is this loan? Thirdly, we have a new story once again from Somalia, Ethiopia border, where more than a week ago Al-Shabaab fighters entered from these border areas. They entered into Ethiopian territories. And there was heavy fighting. Dozens, hundreds were killed rather. Then Ethiopian government, Ethiopian National Defense Force claimed that Al-Shabaab fighters had been pushed out of Ethiopian territories. But once again, fresh fighting is being reported, this time in a town which is right on Ethiopia-Somalia border. Fourthly, we have a new story about Oromo Liberation Army. Ethiopian National Defense Force has shared some pictures. It says that in Valaga, a command post of OLA has been completely destroyed. OLA fighters have been killed, captured and wounded. We have details for you. And lastly, there is a new story from Mekelle, Tigray's capital. We know that there are thousands of Ethiopian National Defense Force members imprisoned in Tigray. They were captured during Tigray conflict. They were captured during fighting which happened in Tigray and in neighboring Amhara Afar regions last year. For the first time, an international news outlet gained access to these POWs. Where are they being kept? How many are they? We have a clip and some details for you. Firstly, viewers, a journalist has been released in Ethiopia. He was arrested around 2 weeks ago. His name is Elazar Tarefe Marsha. He works for Ain Amharic. Ain Amharic, mainly UE-based news source, but it covers Ethiopia as well. In Amharic language, it shares news on Ethiopia, on Eritrea, mostly on Ethiopia. And its reporter in Ethiopia is Elazar Tarefe. He was arrested around 2 weeks ago. Why was he arrested? Reportedly, he criticized Ethiopian PM's Green Legacy campaign. He was arrested, but luckily he was released a few hours ago. You can see his picture on your screen. Damascus Dasalin has not been released so far, despite calls for his release from international journalist bodies, press freedom bodies working for press freedom. Despite calls from them, Damascus is still in prison. Historian Thaddeus Tanto has not been released so far as well, but Elazar Tarefe is out of prison. Secondly, viewers, Russia has converted a loan which Ethiopia owed to Russia into a grant. $162 million loan, a huge relief for Ethiopian economy. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov was in Ethiopia 2 days ago. He held meeting with Ethiopian President and Ethiopian Foreign Minister. In that meeting, he announced the conversion of this loan into a grant. So now Ethiopia will not pay back this loan to Russia. This money will be spent on modernization of Balcha Hospital and Melka Wakina power station in Ethiopia. Interestingly, Ethiopian government is in talks with the EU and with US, China as well for rescheduling of its loans, because government's position is a little weak In coming months, government will have to pay back some loans to these countries. More than $1 billion government will have to pay. But government does not have cash. So it wants rescheduling of these loans. And 3 meetings have been held so far. Ethiopian Finance Minister Ahmed Shide has been in talks with international financial institutions, with these countries, but so far no decision has been made for rescheduling of these loans. On the other hand, Russia has given this huge relief to Ethiopian government that loan has not been rescheduled. It has been converted into a grant. Russia-Ethiopia ties are set to strengthen. Addis Ababa has been chosen as the city where Russia-Africa summit will be held. I think in October this summit will be held. It means Russia sees Addis Ababa as the center of Africa. For Russia, Ethiopia matters a lot, and we know that Russia already has very close ties with Eritrea too. So huge relief for Ethiopian economy, that $162 million loan has been converted into a grant by Russia. It has been confirmed, viewers, not a rumor, because Meles Alem, Ethiopian newly appointed Foreign Ministry spokesperson, just a few hours ago in a press briefing confirmed the conversion of this loan into a grant. Thirdly, we have a new story from Ethiopia-Somalia border. More than a week ago, Al-Shabaab fighters stormed Ethiopia from Somalia. They entered Yeed and Ato, 2 towns which are part of Somalia, on Somalia-Ethiopia border. And from 5 places they entered Ethiopia. There was heavy fighting in Afdir zone, Shebale, of Ethiopia. Hundreds were killed. Government claims, Ethiopian government, that more than 200 Al-Shabaab fighters were killed in 2 incursions, and most of the fighters were killed or captured, some scattered, who were being hunted down by Ethiopian government forces. Then after that, we saw a statement from Somali region's president of Ethiopia, Mustafa Umar. He said that Ethiopia would create a buffer zone between Ethiopia and Somalia to defend from Al-Shabaab attacks. He meant to say that Ethiopian forces would be deployed to Somalia's territories. It's not something new. Ethiopian forces have already been deployed to Somalia's territories. Before Al-Shabaab's attacks on Ethiopian territories more than a week ago, Yeed and Ato towns were the places where Somali region special force of Ethiopia was deployed. And Al-Shabaab's first attack was on these Ethiopian forces in Yeed and Ato. So it's not something new. I don't know why Mustafa Umar is announcing it publicly, because it has led to a controversy. We are seeing statements from Somalia, not official statement, but some journalists, politicians, they are speaking. They are speaking against Mustafa Umar, that why did he announce the creation of a buffer zone? Such things are not made public. Mustafa Umar should have been careful. Ethiopia will create a buffer zone because Somalia's forces are unable to stop Al-Shabaab from moving towards Ethiopian territories. That is why Ethiopia is creating a buffer zone, because Somalia's forces are nowhere to be seen to stop Al-Shabaab fighters. Somalia's territory is being used for attacks on Ethiopia. That is why Ethiopia is creating a buffer zone. Now, latest from the border is that heavy fighting is going on in a town on Ethiopia-Somalia border between Ethiopian forces and Al-Shabaab fighters. Name of this town is Ato town, which was attacked by Al-Shabaab more than a week ago. Ato town, it's part of Bakul region, southwest state of Somalia. There was deployment of Somali Leo police, special force of Ethiopia to this town. Then Al-Shabaab attacked, Leo police withdrew. Yid Ato, both came under Al-Shabaab control. Now it seems that once again Somali Leo police, Ethiopian force, has entered Ato town, and there is ongoing fighting in Ato between Al-Shabaab and Ethiopian government forces. The question is, was Al-Shabaab in control of Ato? And Ethiopian forces are trying to retake Ato, or Al-Shabaab retreated from Ato. Somali Special Force of Ethiopia entered Ato, and now Al-Shabaab is relaunching an attack on Ato. What we have learned is that this is an attack from Al-Shabaab. There was deployment, redeployment of Somali Special Force to Ato in recent days. And Al-Shabaab is now, it has launched a fresh attack on Ato. Al-Shabaab will not allow Ethiopia to create a buffer zone, and deployment of Ethiopian forces to Yid and Ato it means creation of a buffer zone, which Mustafa Umar said, and this buffer zone has been there for years. But now Al-Shabaab has decided to stop Ethiopia from creating this buffer zone. Around 10 days ago, a top Al-Shabaab commander was killed in Ethiopia. He was killed in Afdir zone of the Suma region of Ethiopia, where he was running a recruitment camp. Why is suddenly Al-Shabaab turning against Ethiopia? I think Al-Shabaab has realized that in coming days a joint offensive could be launched on its positions by Ethiopia, Kenya, Somalia, and US Special Forces in Somalia, Africa. That is why these are preemptive strikes from Al-Shabaab fighters. Fourthly, we have a new story from the Oromo region of Ethiopia. Ethiopian National Defense Force has shared some pictures from Wallaga. ENDF says that a command post, a camp of Oromo Liberation Army, Shine they call it, has been destroyed in an operation by Ethiopian National Defense Force. The operation was conducted in Kallam Wallaga zone of Oromia, Western Oromia. Name of the Kabale is Varke Kabale Sio Wareda. Here this operation was conducted and according to Ethiopian National Defense Force, several Shine fighters were killed, captured and wounded. They fled this place and the camp is under ENDF control. ENDF has shared some pictures. You can see the pictures on your screen. This is the camp which is under the control of Ethiopian National Defense Force in Kallam Wallaga. ENDF sometimes shares these gains as if they are huge gains against Oromo Liberation Army. Why is that no top OLA commander has been captured so far by Ethiopian National Defense Force? Why is that? If ENDF is making gains, if OLA is suffering losses, if OLA is on the run, where are top OLA commanders? No, not a single OLA commander has been arrested or killed since the start of new operations more than 2 months ago. Instead, Ethiopian National Defense Force after a few days shared this type of pat information that a camp has been taken, that a bridge has been taken by Ethiopian National Defense Force. Lastly, viewers, we have a new story from Mekelle, Tigray's capital. We know that thousands of Ethiopian National Defense Force members were captured by Tigray Defense Force last year when fighting was going on in Tigray, then in Amhara, Afar regions. And around 6,000 have been released so far. 4,000 released this year and around 2,000 released last year. But still several thousand are in detention. They are in the custody of Tigray Defense Force in Mekelle. For the first time, an international news source was given access to these ENDF prisoners of war. Le Monde is a French channel, TV channel. And this channel a few days ago aired a documentary about the plight of Tigrayans facing acute food shortage. Members of this team somehow sneaked into Tigray. They were not allowed because Ethiopian government does not allow international media to enter Tigray. Somehow they managed to enter Tigray and they shared pictures, videos showing people suffering because of lack of food. The documentary was released a few days ago. After that, gradually, humanitarian situation in Tigray has been improving. Now the same channel has shared a report about ENDF prisoners of war. We have a clip for you showing hundreds of ENDF members who are in prison. Le Monde says that around 6,000 ENDF members are in prison, in a prison near Mekelle. And the channel interviewed some of these soldiers who said that in the first 8 months of Tigray war, Ethiopian National Defense Force and allied forces had an advantage. Then Tigray Defense Force hit back and ENDF and allied forces started suffering losses and they had to retreat. The channel was given access to Eritrean prisoner of war as well, Samre Gebrehivot. A few days ago, a Tigray TV showed 4 Eritreans. It claimed that the 4 Eritreans were members of Eritrean Defense Force and they were involved in an attack on Tigray, but they were captured by Tigray Defense Force. Though then some reports were shared by Eritrean news sources that claim that out of the 4, at least 2 were not members of Eritrean Defense Force. They were civilians and allegedly they were abducted by Tigray Defense Force from a border area inside Eritrea and they were shown as members of Eritrean Defense Force. Samre Gebrehivot was interviewed by this channel and once again he confessed what he confessed a few weeks ago, that he had killed and raped dozens in different parts of Tigray. But some say that he is mentally challenged and he did not receive any military training and he was exempt from military training in Eritrea. So the channel was given access to these ENDF POWs in Tigray. Ethiopian National Defense Force and Tigray government, Tigray Defense Force, they have a lot to do. Tigrania-speaking ENDF members are in detention in different parts of Ethiopia. Around 20,000 are in detention. They are members of ENDF, but Tigrania speaking. But they were arrested after the start of the Tigray conflict. And ENDF members are in prison in Mekelle. So why shouldn't be exchange of prisoners? Both sides can agree on exchange of prisoners. By the way, Tigrania speaking ENDF members are not prisoners. They were not captured in fighting. But Ethiopian government sees them as pro-Tigray, as supporters of Tigray, that they could be supporting Tigray. That is why they were put in prison. But there can be some exchange of prisoners. Watch this clip showing Le Monde French channel, which was given access to a prison, which has around 6,000 ENDF POWs near Mekelle. Thank you for watching.
C'est la prison la plus peuplée du Tigray. 6000 soldats capturés au champ de bataille partagent leur quotidien dans le pénitencier de Mekelle.
Les combats ont commencé pendant 8 mois. On a combattu les Tigrayens du TPLF. Et à ce moment-là du combat, on gagnait pendant 8 mois. Et ensuite, ils sont revenus beaucoup plus forts, avec beaucoup plus de monde. Et ils nous ont mis dans cette prison.
Venus mater